Hello, 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 hello. Cool. So, analysis for this week, right? So, analysis, start this off GU. Okay, GU. So, based off the monthly, right? Let's go off the monthly real quick. We got this higher low, higher high, and yeah, so it's basically, I'm still sticking to bullish, right? Bullish is the main bias for this, right? We broke this kind of lower high point here, lower high. And then we got this higher low, higher high, right? Higher low, higher high. Still maintaining this level of support right here. But now if we jump down to kind of the weekly time frame, that bias kind of changes, right? For the fact that we have a lower high, lower low. Like I said, it's these two candles right here that I'm basically analyzing. Well, these four basically, but the structure is based off like that lower high, that lower low, lower high is actually based off the weekly here. As you can see, lower high, lower low, and then we're kind of just retracing at this point. So at this point in time, I'm still kind of thinking whether or not we're done retracing, right? We're also at that key level here. If we can kind of stop this key level here, kind of then push down to the downside. Um, but like I said, if that's gonna happen, then again, for one, an engulfing would have to kind of form on this time frame, right? We would love to see an engulfing, which again, if you analyze that structure, that engulfing is pretty much this here, this kind of structure here. Um, yeah, that would be that engulfing there. And again, that would all make sense. Again, at the end of the day, this would be that higher low, and then that higher high, right? Higher low, higher high, higher low. And like I said, so this is where I'm kind of stuck at, right? H4, it's still bullish, right? At the end of the day, we still have this higher low point. Support never broken, right? It's tested. How I see things is more tested. Um, so yeah, so not broken whatsoever. Even on daily, if you go on daily right now at this point in time, I mean, we can get this engulfing here based off the daily time frame here, which that engulfing would pretty much be this transition here, this little higher low, boom, which would be nice, right? That would be kind of that engulfing based off that time frame itself. But again, pretty much like this here, this little daily here, this little push is pretty much, it's like candlestick analysis, right? It's kind of too blocky in a sense, so I break that down to page four, and then it would be that, right? Which then that engulfing would be essentially us breaking this higher low point, which that's kind of how I would see this, and then it would be kind of a lower high point as well. This lower high point breaking this higher low point, or overall higher low point here. Um, yeah, so that's how that would pretty much go down. So at this point in time right here, we still have this higher low point, boom. Again, if it still respects this level of supports, then again, a bullish move is not bad, all right? Keep in mind, based off the daily, I mean, I guess we're at this point in time, the thing is that we're still pushing, right? Higher low, higher high. So the thing basically is, I mean, the question is, can we still keep pushing, right? So maybe up to these levels here, hit that negative 27%, which would be this exhaustion here, all this. Um, by the looks of it, like I said, by looking at structure, right, it's still possible. And based off this here, but then based off the weekly, we would also kind of get that push, and that would be kind of, we're kind of at this range here. But I mean, again, we could easily just continue to kind of exhaust, I guess, a little bit more up to here. You know what I mean? Maybe, I don't know about there, but I don't know. Like I said, it does look like based off the weekly, it does look like a nice spot to kind of look for that lower high point potentially to come in, right? But again, it's all about structure. It's all about structure. So until structure gives us that indication that it can continue to push, And like I said, technically, if I was looking at this here, this was that indication, right? That was like that sign that was letting me know that a potential lower high could be coming in to give us that true lower low. But again, I feel like this move here maintained itself. So overall structure still maintaining itself, even with this kind of big bearish kind of push, which kind of just gives me a little bit more confidence, more based off the bullish move, right? The bullish side. Um, so yeah, so how I would kind of go about that is pretty much this daily. I mean, this H4. I would kind of break now this kind of area down here. I think it was I think it was like M5, kind of M5 ish. M5 is a bit. I think it would be okay. M5 is not that bad, to be honest. M5 kind of looks a bit sloppy, especially with all this going on here, but kind of just more based off like the based off the main overall structure, right? It would be point A, point B, here to here. So this would be like at that 78.6 retracement, kind of within that golden zone, right? So again, based off that golden zone right there, higher low, higher high, boom, right? Higher low, higher high. That's pretty much what that point there. Again, at this point in time, that would be kind of that break. And even this little zone here, this orange zone would pretty much be based off this key zone here, right? So every time, as we can see, right, as I can see, every time we're underneath this, contract this to the left. Every time we're underneath this, we tend to what? Sell off, right? Sell off every time. Sell off, hit that zone, we end up selling off, right? Every time we're above it, we end up pushing up, right? A nice little push, 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 right? So here we kind of broke beneath it here, but then we ended up doing what? Breaking back above. So now we're pretty much above this level here. So here I'm looking at for another kind of push up, right? So that's kind of that key zone based off that H4. And then let's go to M5 real quick. That's kind of where that key zone kind of comes from, right? Comes from that level, that H4 level on the higher time frame. Based off that, right? So now we're on M5. M5 is a good place for kind of analyzing this current structure, which once again would be basically this these little candlestick, I guess you can say. Yeah, this candlestick based off this time frame, which is this push here, which if we go down to M5, that push actually would be all the way up here, huh? If I'm not mistaken. It starts at 17. Jesus. Over here, so it's that basically that push here, all this. Boom. So again, that's where kind of that comes from. But I think this now is M5 is a bit much. If we go to M30, yeah. So if we go to M30, we can kind of see that a bit better, understand it a bit better. It's still a bit blocky, but still. So boom, this would be that lower high point here. So again, M15, not that bad. So yeah, M15 would be good basically based off this structure here alone, lower high. Right now we're making lower highs, lower lows. So what I would want to see is just kind of, again, either us tapping into the zone here would be ideal, right? What we would want to see, and then essentially just wait for some type of higher low point, right? Some type of higher low point or some type of lower high being broken. But ultimately, you would want to see that right there would be just like a sign, right? If we can get this higher low point, that would be a sign to kind of for the bull push, and then us breaking a lower high point would be a sign. But ideally, at the end of the day, what we would want to see it would have to be this lower high here be broken, right? The main lower high point here, all this, which would pretty much cause probably like a little, it would be an engulfing pretty much. Because if we look at this, if this should be that candle, yep, like that wick, right? So technically that wick is all the way up there, which is pretty much this candle, but it would be pretty much the structure point of that. So that's that, right? So that's again that would be H4 engulfing, which again we don't have to technically wait for the engulfing. Like I just said right now, M15, just wait for some type of higher low. If you don't want to wait for the higher low, we can wait for some type of lower high point. But at that point in time, again, the risk to reward could be a bit off. But I think we have enough I think we have enough confluence, enough correlation to really think that we can kind of get this push here. Um, yeah, even on just kind of another little pattern. Oh, I think that's not what I was trying to go for. I would have this left shoulder, head, and then that would be kind of that right shoulder a little bit to then potentially take this off. So again, H4 is still bullish at the end of the day. That's pretty much the same thing. Weekly, everything is still pretty much bullish and maintaining, so it's kind of hard to go against that. You know what I mean? I feel like the only time where we could go against that is at these key points up here, right? This lower high point, this would have been a good move, right? But again, it all depends. Like again, entering here is not bad at all. But again, once you kind of see that we don't break this point, we don't get that push that we actually need, that volume, doesn't mean that we're not gonna get it, but that's kind of at the points where you would want to take action at, you know. Even here, okay, cool, another lower high point, but as you can see, it's kind of a slow. I mean, we don't have volume right now; it's not even a session, but once again, it's kind of that same thing, right? If we can't see ourselves kind of pushing below this key zone, for me, that kind of just shows me that the bullish move is still pretty much, um, it's pretty much still valid, right? So again, we're not in session yet, but something like this would be nice. I'm pretty much saying that, so I don't know. I'd wait for some type of structure to be kind of formed. Like, kind of, for example, if this was that point here, and some type of this, out of that fluctuation zone, I wouldn't mind here. And TP, obviously, TP would be based off this time frame. That would be kind of that trade there, right? And this would be kind of TP2, actually. TP1 would be here. TP1 would be right here. Like this here, if we don't break above this zone, if we do break TP2 and then TP3, um, yeah, that's pretty much the trade based off that. Because again, the H4 would be that higher low point. Yeah. So that's that trade there. Now based off Euro, right? Euro is pretty much here, pretty much bullish. Same thing. Kind of have this one big push. So weekly, I'm not really looking for structure overall, but I do understand just a bit of structure here. That's still that engulfing there, right? Pretty much. Boom, boom, boom. That candle there. Okay, so that would pretty much be. So again, we still are maintaining higher low points, same thing, right? Higher low, higher high, higher low. And this is the 23.6 as well. So technically, I'm qualifying this here as the first true higher low point. We retrace more than 38.2. Right, so that would be that first higher low point. As you can see, we're already kind of pushing here. So pretty bullish overall. We did kind of break this little minor minor little high point here, which is a good sign, but it's not the main sign, right? So again, a bullish move is not bad. And then keep in mind that this bullish move here, again, you can kind of see it based off this weekly, but it's a bit blocky as well. So analyzing that based off the daily really helps. Boom. Um, and yeah, so here for me, like any type of engulfing at this point here, I would not really consider this because it's kind of doji. And it's like I was saying previous, this is still kind of that push. This is a 38.2, yes, but as you can see here, we kind of pushed, and then here, and then we kind of just ended up pushing as well. Um, but again, it's still that candle, it's still that main point there. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, so overall, I think that's where that engulfing would want to come. I would want to see this pretty much close anywhere below here, and this would be a true level of an engulfing. Yeah. At this point in time, that would be that true engulfing. That would be the overall switch, right? And just kind of structure itself. Boom, here. It's too small, this is too doji-ish. There's not enough volume here to really consider that to be a true, and we didn't really make like a true higher high based off that higher low point here. If we would have got a nice push, that would be different. That would be kind of volume. But here, I feel like we just kind of consolidated and ranged. But overall, I still think that's still some type of higher low point based off like this now like minor structure based off H4, right? So now H4 has that boom, lower high, lower low, based off this daily, based off that daily time frame. And yeah, so this is kind of yeah. But now, so here we got this. Now we want to see a nice big push, which we're not really getting at this point. But overall, so okay, coming back to here, right? We got kind of got this H4 here. This is that H high low. Was that 23.6? Oh, 30.2. Down trip. Okay, so yes, this is that high low here. Actually, I think we're still maintaining this here. Yep. So this is not. This is a lower high point. Low point. So again, ultimately, we're still maintaining this higher low point, right? We're still got this main higher low structure still hasn't broken. So again, anything is kind of very similar to kind of the GU situation here. We could potentially be forming some type of higher low point right around here. And then head to that kind of like that upside. Is structure pretty similar? Kind of. So yeah, so this is still pretty much bullish based off this H4 time frame. Nothing has really shifted at all to really give us that indication that things might change, might switch over. Once again, this would be that perfect sell opportunity here because we're at that top, right? Boom, as you can see, we don't break it. And then once again, we're kind of forming like a little lower high point here. But again, that doesn't look, again, we're not in session, so it's kind of hard to say that there's no volume, but so we'll kind of see how session kind of goes. And if there's still no volume kicking in, then again, I think the higher low point would still be very, very key. Same thing, right? Higher low, I think based off M15. It's kind of seen a bit better. Higher low here, boom. That'd be that higher low point. I mean, at this point in time, we could even potentially draw some type of like wick that. Wait for some type of kind of break here, boom, and just take that to the upside. Easier said than done, easier said than done, but that would be pretty much that there. So as long as we don't kind of engulf this here, so I mean, if we get engulfing here, then that's pretty much, yeah, but still, that would be true engulfing based off the retracing. We're not retracing, we're not making higher highs. So again, this is just one big push, right? That's that same push here. Boom. So an engulfing here wouldn't really be valid for the fact that we have a higher low and a higher high. Like we can actually see that because we have a lower high point here. That's the only difference between that. Still the same push. So based off this time frame, H4 is that transition, but it still gives us an idea of where the transition is, right? This would still be, it's not even engulfing because technically, but it's still where the 100% would be at. Higher low, higher high, higher low, break that point, like I said, still maintaining, right? So that's what I'm pretty much going with. Daily, still keep pushing up. That's the main thing, right? Can we just keep pushing up here? We're seeing struggle, we're seeing all this stuff, which is a good sign, but it's still, I hate looking at, I hate trying to predict it too much, you know what I mean, just because of exhaustion. So I just think automatically that, you know what, we can look for a push down. But this is that weekly level there. Boom, here. We're at this top part again. I mean, a sell opportunity wouldn't be bad. Daily here. Overall, kind of did push already. So that's what I'm gonna go with, you know what I mean? That's what I'm gonna go with. H4 still hasn't broken that main level that I would want to see it. Now again, a lower high point here is not a good sign. But again, it doesn't look like there's much volume here. So that's what I'm gonna stick with. I'm gonna stick to this buys. Stick with the buys. Aim for just even. I mean, even if you can just pull up here and reject here based off the daily, right? Just a quick little move. Like I'm not so confident based off like us maybe pushing too much, but I still think we can get a nice little, some of the more consolidating kind of range, you know, potentially. So kind of just aiming for this here, maybe like a quick little move, and then wait for kind of daily to really give us that, which would be H4 more so lower high point here engulfing, but then that would be somewhat of engulfing there. Boom, which would be here. All this. So that's what I'm gonna go with. Still bullish, still bullish, still bullish. Especially I think coming market open, as long as we don't break pretty much underneath here and kind of continue this kind of flow of things here. You know what I mean? Boom. Some type of break, some type of transition here would be much needed. So I'm gonna stick with